This guy, let me tell you.
Yeah.
This guy, as a high school quarterback at Copper's Cove, was a wizard running the read option, doing his thing. Part of DBU, played in the NFL. I tell you what, this guy, I fought. Duke and I are still friends on Facebook. Man, you are all over the place, doing so many things. If I ran down the stuff you're doing, do we even have enough time in the show for the rest of the hour to talk about all the stuff you got going on?
I try to stay busy. I really do. I'll be honest. But it's super exciting. Getting done playing football in 2020, I got into the renewable energy space.
Yeah.
But then you see me doing a lot of media, marketing things, just because the sports world, energy world, the small niches, and I try to get it out there. And then obviously helping a lot of guys in the business consulting world, especially with NIL, it's a whole new space.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's kind of my world now. So even got my buddy here, Devontae Harris. He played in the league as well. And we do a lot of different things together. Try to do different collaborations and try to put our best foot forward in multifaceted, because there's so many different opportunities out there.
Now go ahead and put it in front of the camera. You got your T-ring on.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
There it is.
Got your T-ring.
Come on.
You got to make sure you get this when you go out there at University of Texas.
Now that's the key. I think people forget about the T-ring. Not only do you have to be a letterman, you have to graduate. You got to get that degree 100%. From the University of Texas. Now, BK probably took a little longer to get his degree from UT than you did.
I did.
But what does it mean now? Everybody talks about the advantages of the network at UT, the network of being a Longhorn. Now that you're out, football's done. You're out in the professional world. How is that network? Do you run into CEOs or presidents, vice presidents of companies, and there's that Longhorn connection, or they remember you as a player?
Absolutely. Just recently, I was maybe a year ago, I went down to Austin, met with the Secretary of State at the time, John Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my business partner, Mr. Cashelon, he actually represented me. And it's on the energy side of things. And unbeknownst to me, when I walked to the room, he knew who I was.
Yeah.
And bragging to my partner, saying, I can't believe Duke Thomas was in my room. Those kind of things are extremely exciting for me to hear, because that time you spend on the field translated to genuine relationships and rapport building, and that's very important. I always tell guys, the time you spent in the locker room with your teammates is very important, but it's always important to meet people outside the campus, outside the locker room.
Yeah.
Because, the relationships you build at school is one of the biggest things I learned. Obviously, getting a degree was great.
Sure.
But making friends and building those relationships is everything.
So you're a unique guy to ask this. You're one of the few guys that can answer this. You played at Texas,
right.
Kind of life in a fishbowl. You've got us asking you guys questions after games and on Mondays, and the media attention's on you.
Yep.
And then you go play for maybe the biggest circus in sports, was being a part of the Cowboys.
Right.
How does being a Longhorn at the time, things weren't exactly stable while you were on the 40. Being a Longhorn and being a Cowboy, just the media attention that's on you every day, does it compare?
Oh man, I would say so. It had me prepared for it.
Yeah.
I would say that, but nothing can really compare to the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
When I was there, I distinctly remember working out in the weight room, and they would have tourists running through the building
while you're in there working out.
Man, it was insane. It was literally insane. But these guys are in a whole new space now with NIL. So I think they're more prepared now for the next level than we were.
Yeah.
Just coming around full circle from the media days when I was doing it to now, I see the change.
It's crazy,
right? It's really insane. But it was a great experience. I will say that. Being from the University of Texas, the Dallas Cowboys, being from Texas, it's kind of hard to beat.
Yeah. So you were involved in. It ended up being a big deal, but it could have been much worse. Your last game on the 40, which one of the wildest games I've ever seen, that game against Baylor. You guys beat Baylor at McLean. It ended up being Art Briles' last home game as Baylor head coach.
Yep.
You get the interception, you put the ball in the air, and the next thing I know, Deshaun Elliott shadow boxing somebody from Baylor.
Boy.
Did it?
Oh, man.
That whole deal. And you're a Syntax guy. Like I said, you're a Coppers Cove guy. You're a 254 guy like myself.
Yes, sir.
That whole deal, how surreal was that? Like 1 minute, it's an interception, you guys are rolling. The next minute, man, there might be a whole bunch of ejections because there's about to be a brawl.
That's the thing, man. I love my guys when I was there at Texas, and they rolled for me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we had a lot of different coaches changes and a lot of different defensive coordinators, but we were tight in that locker room.
Yeah.
The wins didn't correlate to how we wanted, but you could see in moments like that how we had each other backs. It was crazy, obviously. Catching an interception and then seeing my boys ready to throw down,
I'll never forget that.
But it was a really fun experience. Obviously, it was good to not have anybody ejected Deshaun, keep your hands in your pocket, man. Don't be beating nobody up. But it was definitely a great time, great experience.
You know, one of the things I like about you, Duke, is the tie. You're one of the few guys, the last guys that had a tie to Will Muschamp, because I know Coach Muschamp came by Copper's Cove, and
100%.
you weren't really on the radar. And I remember in that recruiting class, you were part of 2012, and it was kind of you and Hassan Ridgeway, you and Ridge, and Muschamp evaluated you guys early, and we didn't have either of you guys ranked, and it's like, hey, Muschamp loves these two guys.
100%.
Both you guys end up playing in the league. How grateful are you for Coach Muschamp, just his eye for talent, and to be able to say, hey, I don't care what position this guy plays in high school, and I don't care where he plays here. I just want him on my roster.
No, 100%. You know, it was kind of crazy how that all transpired. He actually came to my school to take a look at Cody Ailens. He was a really big offensive lineman for us. And I was at practices doing my thing. You know, I didn't really play quarterback until my junior year because of an injury. My quarterback tore his bicep. So having that happen, him coming there and being able to see the way I moved, and then obviously putting me on the radar there. And then even afterwards, when he transferred out of there, Major Applewhite started coming in, and then Mac eventually came to the school and really made it special. I owe it all to those guys. I mean, honestly, I didn't realize then how big of a deal it was going to the University of Texas. I mean, I wasn't really the sports kid. Or growing up watching sports, and I played the video game a little bit. You know, I didn't really idolize any specific player, but to see it on this side of the fence now, see how hard it is to really go to a place like University of Texas and see the numbers and the statistics. I do definitely appreciate you, Coach Muschamp, coming out there and checking me out.
BK, Duke makes me feel really old. Like I'm realize I'm one of the old heads in this market now.
Yeah.
I was at Copper's Cove. I got invited the day Duke announced his commitment to Texas. Yeah. I was there it wasn't the weight room. It was kind of a little meeting room off to the side. It was you and your parents, and you had the UT shirt on. And I remember Coach Welch said they had never done that for anybody where you have a commitment ceremony. Right. And back then, and I remember some of the Coach Reb Brock, who coached you. He coached me back when I was in middle school. I remember him telling us that a bunch of Cove people went to a UT game. They knew you as Orlando Thomas. You were OT when you were at Cove, and they're like, he's not on the roster. He doesn't play. It's like, no, it's Duke Thomas now. He's there, just the name change on the 40.
It was wild. I actually went into Coach Brown's office. My mom and dad was just calling me Duke. And he was like, who's Duke? Like, who's Duke? I'm trying to confuse.
You got a brother or something? Like, who is this?
And my mom was like, no, we called him Duke since he was a little boy. Yeah. My dad loved John Wayne, and I was bow-legged.
How about that?
I know, isn't that crazy?
I always wondered where that nickname came
from. My dad loved John Wayne. I was bow-legged as a little kid growing up. I grew out of it. But I always called Duke growing up. So as soon as Mac heard that, he was like, know what? Your family, we're going to call you Duke. You're going to change it on the roster. Everybody's going to call you Duke. So that's kind of how all that transpired. Yeah.
Duke, I know you got to run. I know you got business to take care of, but you were in the NFL during the Tom Herman era. You played for Charlie Strong and Mac Brown. You were in the NFL during the Tom Herman era. Now that Sark has taken over, obviously they go to the playoff last year. They won a conference championship. Your thoughts on where the program is right now, and anytime you go back, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Sark or talk to anybody up there, your thoughts on where the program is and their relationship with guys like you that came before, the current crop.
Absolutely. I'm super excited about how everything is looking. Obviously, like you mentioned, when I was there, we didn't play up to our expectations, our standard. Right now, I'm super high. I'm super high on the program. I mean, this next season is going to be super exciting, and then the years to come. With Arch and the talent that they've been recruiting over the past couple of years is looking very stout. And then obviously on the flip side of things, with the portal being the way it is, I mean, we're sitting at the forefront of getting any talent that we really want.
Yeah.
And then obviously having a conversation you mentioned with the coaching staff and Sark and the way they're doing things, I think he's actually the perfect blend since we've had Mac Brown in the building. Being able to be that coach and then also that CEO that you have to get at the University of Texas, I think he's managing it very well, and I'm super excited to see these guys come out this next season in SEC.
All right, one question, and I got to settle this with my man Rod Babers. We've been doing the Longhorn Blitz podcast since your freshman year, and Rod and I had almost a knockdown, drag-out fight on the air because that spring when you were a two-way guy, I said Duke can do it. Rod said no, he needs to focus on being a corner. If they would have let you be a two-way player. Are we talking about maybe Duke Thomas making it to the NFL as a receiver, or are you glad it worked out where you just stayed at DB?
1,000%. I'll be honest. There's not many guys that can play both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
not to toot my own horn, I really believe I could have. If Coach Harsin never got out of there, they already had a package built in for me to play at the wide receiver position.
Oh, okay.
So Mac Brown was 100% on board as well. So that was going to be the case. I mean, Coach Keenan didn't have a problem with it either.
Yeah.
So going through practices, I was already playing on both sides of the ball. And I was really, really looking forward to it. But obviously, when coaching changes like that happen, they kind of put you in different positions, right? So Rod, it was going to happen, man. I'm going to be out there catching passes.
Gotta make sure Rod hears that.
Yes. And before we let him go, if you want to be a legend at Texas, there's certain games you got to make plays in. Duke had an interception in BK, maybe one of the most improbable Texas wins over OU. You've seen that 36-20 win in 2013. Picked off the Belldozer.
Kicked off the Belldozer, man. that was fun.
Yeah,
and that's one of the best games in college football, in my opinion. I'm glad we're gonna be able to still experience that. OU Texas, man. That's one of the. I can't put my finger on it, but going into that game, it's different.
You went 2-2 against the Sooners.
2-2, 500. I can't talk too much trash.
Yeah,
we went 500.
Yeah, I was better than a lot of guys around your time.
Yeah.
So we'll take it. And I was a student for those 2 wins, so I appreciate that.
Oh man, I'm glad you guys had a
You
good
gave
time.
us a couple of good days in Dallas, man. That was needed.
Yes, sir.
Duke, thanks, man. Great to see you.
Great
to see you doing well. And I'll hit you up definitely.
Someone owes this guy some NIL money from back when he was playing, because it wasn't around when you were here. You got
Give me
screwed.
paid, man. Come on, somebody throw me a check. I need it.
Oh, we got to talk to you about that or something. Man.
Thanks, Duke. Appreciate it, man.
I'll see you guys.
How about that?
There he is, man. Duke Thomas. I didn't expect to get a guest, and a guest that I've known for a long time, and a good dude and good family, came from a good high school program. So nice to get to chop it up with Duke Thomas.
You just never know who you're going to run into at Media Day.
And I would much rather have Duke than Feinbaum or anybody else that's running around.
Right.